we just received a donation from someone and we want to use it for live streaming and church online. What do you recommend? So this is a really good question, and it really depends on a couple different things. So 2 questions I'll ask you first. Not you, Nolan, but somebody who's in this situation. What's your budget? How many dollars do you have set aside for this, and can you increase that number? So, I mean, unless that number is in a great place already. But just, this is an investment. This is a big investment to get church online in a great way, in a better way, in a cleaner way, to spread the message of Jesus. Like, we are tasked with an amazing thing, being in the age of technology. How do we get this message out better and to more people? We have the ability to change lives with this. So it's really getting serious about that with your church, with your council, having those conversations, digging in on your why and your mission of your church. So again, finding what your budget is. And number 2 is, what are your production goals? What do you want your online experience to look and feel like, sound like? It's probably going to different websites, different churches' social media pages, and finding examples of what you're hoping to create, how you want to create it. Every church is in a different situation. Every church has different histories, different why they've done things along the way, why they haven't done certain things along the way. So it's addressing some of those things. What are the realistic capabilities? And that's something Nolan and I can help you with too. Is just walking through some of those options that might be questions for you right now. Like, is this even possible? Did you want to add anything to that, Nolan, before we dig into this?
Yeah, it's not a one-size-shoe-fits-all.
Right.
And there needs to be some contemplation, some back and forth, some build it specifically for what your needs are. And I just think it's crazy. I'm bewildered by how much you can do online right now. You're watching this, I'm sure you are too. But really the reality, really the reality of the opportunities we have online is we're just in the baby steps.
Yeah.
And there's certainly some resistance. You think back to, I certainly wasn't around, but when cars were first introduced, there was some pushback with that. But look how far we've come now. You can buy a car that drives itself. It's taken a century, right? But now you can buy a Tesla and take a nap while you drive from the East Coast to the West Coast. And right now we're still in the just beyond the horse and buggy stage in that car analogy. We've just got so far to go. We can't even think, we can't even imagine how far this internet thing, this online worship thing is going to go. And so now is to put all the chips in so that you are in a good position. So how do you do that well? And I think that's where we're at today, and with our questions and answers, and why so many people are asking about that.
Right. No, this is good. It's a very common question we get, and we just had a great conversation with the pastor this last week about this. And so we decided to create a PDF, kind of a little graphic here that we're going to walk through, and it's got 3 different recommendations we have. And again, it's based on what your budget is, what your church is willing to spend and willing to invest into this. And number 2, resulting in different production values. So you're going to have to make those decisions along the way, how much you're willing to spend and how much you're willing to put into a higher value. So I'm going to go ahead.
Quick. When you say different production value, we aren't ever going to suggest something that's not good. Like it's good, gooder, and goodest. It's really, there's not anything that we're going to say this is crappy but it's cheap. No, this is a great option, and it only gets better from there. How far do you want to go into this thing?
Right. So I'm going to share my screen here. This is our PDF we've got. So the very first one we recommend to churches, and this is something I've used, Nolan's used it. This was one of our first steps at Good Shepherd, where I'm at. It's called Switcher Studio. So it's the cheapest It's flexible, it's mobile friendly, it's lower quality, and it's user friendly. So just to speak to a couple of those things quick. So when I say lower quality, you are limited in what you have for visual options there. So how it works is that you have a center iPad here right in the middle, and then you can connect as many iOS devices to it. So this is an Apple platform. You can connect as many devices as you want to. And I would recommend at least 2, maybe 3. We've done up to 5 and 6, just having fun with it, trying to see what things we can do. So when I say lower quality, is that you are limited to the ability of that iOS device you're using, that Apple device. So we've used iPad minis, we've used iPods, we've used iPhones, and you can't zoom in very far. If you have one of those phones, or if you have a smartphone at all, as soon as you start zooming in a ways, it starts getting pixelated and you lose the quality. So that's a lot of the lower quality that you're going to experience with that. What's nice though is you get direct audio off your soundboard. So we're gonna show you how to get from your board directly into this iPad, so you get that clean audio. That's been an issue for a lot of churches. Hey, we're using this iPad, but our sound is so echoey. Well, are you coming directly off your board? No, we're not. Here's how you do that. So this is one of the recommendations there. So you get quality audio, but you're going to lose quality on your overall video using this platform. If you're doing like a devotional in your office, or if you're shooting an interview, anything short throw, meaning you don't have to shoot very far away from your balcony or anything like that. If you're up close, this is a pretty great option. And we actually used this for a while after we moved away from Switcher. We still use it from time to time, depending on what the project is, because it allows you to use different cameras and direct audio, and kind of accomplish a few of those things. Nolan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and this is one of those things that brand new tech team haven't worked with. When I brought it to Calvary, where I'm at, they had not done any live streaming, and I basically handed them the iPad and showed them how to do it, and they were running with it pretty much instantly and showing me how to do things. Very user friendly, like John said. The other thing is, this is something that if you want to do worship in the park, or worship at the lake, or on a mountain, or whatever it is, you can just take those iPads because they're small, and you can set them up and do it anywhere. And that's what he means by mobile.
Right.
Yeah, we've loved it. It's great. Shout out to Switcher Studio. Great job.
Yep. Let us know if you have any questions on that one. So that's kind of the first one. Dollar amount, we can throw out a couple ballparks here for that. So, I mean, these are all kind of based on, again, budget and production value. So budget on something like this, we're assuming you have a decent sound board that you can control a specific output for your live stream that's going to come into your iPad system. So hopefully your purchase, if you don't have a solid audio solution at this point, that's going to be your first investment that I'm always going to encourage you. If you have already invested in that and you have a well-functioning soundboard that has options, then we're going to move on to this, and you're going to purchase one, switch your iPad, and maybe 2 or 3 different camera angles, which would be 2 or 3 other iPads. So your investment there is going to be, what iPads even run now? $200-$300?
Yeah, they're reasonable.
So, I mean, you're looking at between, 3, 6, 9, I mean, somewhere around $1,000, $1,200 to get 3 of those iPads in place. It might be an adapter, an interface getting out of your board into your iPad. So you're looking right around $1,000, a little bit more than $1,000 for this solution here. We just had a quick question come in on this one. How do you recommend? Thanks, Tim. How you doing, buddy? How do you recommend pushing audio? Matrix out, mixed bus out? What I've found the most successful is a mixed bus out. And you can go obviously 2 different ways. Tim, if you're on this call, you could probably even explain that better than I could. But I would definitely recommend, what I use is a mixed bus. So we have a dedicated out that somebody has headphones on. They're listening to that out. They're listening to that bus out. They are making sure that sound is going to sound as great as it can on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you're streaming to. they can step outside the room, listen to the actual stream, make sure it sounds good, and come back in. That way you're mixing that one bus out, that separate output out, and you're not messing with the room at all. They are two separate purposes, your room audio and your live stream audio. So I'd say mixed bus. Good question.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next one, A10 Mini Pro with 3 HD cameras in the solution. So this will kind of be your next step that we'd recommend. This one, so this was kind of a game changer when Blackmagic came out with the A10 Mini Pro, which is this center device here. It kind of blew me out of the water what all it can do. So I definitely recommend this as kind of your next level option. Your highest expenses in this solution are going to be your 3 cameras here and your A10 Mini. Now, something like this used to be, $3-4 grand for just this. This thing came out and completely changed the market at a $700 price tag, which was wild. Just all the things it's able to do. It's able to take in HDMI from 4 different sources. So in this model, we have 3 cameras, and these are Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, which work very well with this switcher. So you're running HDMI from each camera in. You're able to preview all 3 of those cameras and pick which ones you want to go live. You're able to run your MacBook or any computer for that matter, just has to have HDMI out to get into your A10 Mini. So you can create then at the end of the day down here a live mix. And this was just a example layout to Facebook Live, YouTube with your lyrics on the screen, and whatever configuration of these 3 cameras you want to use. And again, this includes your direct audio coming off your board and making sure that that's clean. Yeah, I really like this solution. We just picked up one of these, the A10 Mini Pro. We do things at our second site downtown Fargo that we needed kind of a mobile friendly, high quality solution for. So that's where we jumped in with the A10 Mini, and it does an incredible job. So churches that are looking to spend, $1,000-2,000 per camera to get that high quality HD solution. So you're looking at, on the high end there, 246 on 3 cameras, 6,000 plus your A10 Mini at 700, 7,000. So I mean, this solution is going to be right in that kind of $5,000 to $10,000-12,000 region, 5,000 to 10,000, and that's assuming you've got a ProPresenter solution here already in play, and again, your digital soundboard already in play. So you're hopefully adding to what you already have in your workflow already, and then you're just adding these components into that. Any questions on that one, or any other thoughts on that one, Nolan?
Nope. Just looking at Tim's comment.
Oh yeah. Here. That is true. So one thing to note on the 1/8 inch input on the A10 Mini. So this guy getting from your board into here, it only takes an 1/8 inch input. So you'll need to go from XLR and convert it over to 1/8 inch to get direct audio into the A10 Mini. That's a great comment.
Yeah, that's something I haven't used or had any need for at this point, but anything with Blackmagic just been super slick.
Right.
Really
they used to not have anything in that price point, so that changed the game big time when it came out. And like I said, we just bought one, and I'd actually rented one to try it before we bought it, and it worked perfect. Like, we had 0 issues with it, and like you said, Blackmagic is just a great brand in video production. So moving along, so this is number 3. So this would be a much bigger investment and longer term, maximum flexibility. It gives you, it's really future proof, and I'll explain what that means here. So this setup is going to be in that $15,000 to $20,000 to $25,000. Hold on here. We had one other question. How do you recommend getting from the soundboard to the 1/8 inch input? So you're going to come off XLR. So we talked about that mix bus coming out in XLR. So say it's this board here. So sorry, let's rewind just for a second. If you're on this board here, we're going to be using an XLR output taking a direct out, controlling it in a mixed bus, and we're going to run it into, what do we do for that? You're going to need to find a way to go from XLR to 1/8 inch. And I think they just make that little Rapco box converter. And I'm trying to remember right now if that goes both directions, if it goes mic line in as well. We'd have to play with that a little bit. Tim, do you know that? Brian, do you know that? It would take a little adapter is what it would take.
Really?
But good questions. Those are all things that, I mean, you're going to be down this path and then go, wait a second, why isn't our audio working? Wait a second, why isn't this happening? And figuring those things out. So again, on this one, we're going to be having, this is our most expensive, but you now have HD and 4K quality, very future proof because you can add cameras in anytime you want. You can add in other sources, videos, other computers, maximum flexibility. So you can, any kind of graphics you want on your screen. So we'll dig into that as we go. And then there's going to be more training needed. And as we've kind of scrolled down through the 3 different options, you see there's just more stuff. So at the end of the day, there's more jumps, there's more things to keep in mind as you're putting these together. Something doesn't work right, there's more things to troubleshoot, more areas where things could fail. But to start off here, so you're looking at a couple different cameras, camera types. This is what we went with at Good Shepherd, so I just want to use that as an example. You could do 4 of these, you could do 4 of these, you could do 2 of these, 1 of these, 3 of these, 4. So these are all interchangeable, and that's what I mean by maximum flexibility and future-proofing this thing. So you can, down the road, add in any kind of a camera you want. But these are Canon XA55s that we love. They're very highly rated for kind of a run and gun solution. And what that means is if you're doing an interview that week, or if you have people from your church coming in and you want to capture a story, or you really want to get stories out about how God is working in your church, these can be pulled out of your live stream like Sanctuary setup very easily. You can pull them out, move it to another room, shoot an interview, move it down to here, capture the kids singing this song, move it down here, and do whatever. So that's what I love about these. And what's really nice about them is they have this XLR input directly in the top. So you can now connect a camera right to that and get a direct audio feed in, which is just awesome. We love being able to do that. I use these cameras for all of our interviews, all of our announcement videos, anything like that. So it's kind of, you're purchasing it not just for your live stream, but for multiple uses. These PTZs we bought, they're mounted in the Sanctuary in a couple different locations. Actually, one of them's mounted in the center. One of them is still on a tripod because I haven't decided where I want to mount it yet. And we just found while we were pre-recording things, while we were in this COVID phase, that we liked having the flexibility of knowing that we could move that camera around whenever we wanted to. So these are PTZs, and I'll explain what that means here. They're pan, tilt, zoom cameras. So this PTZ controller down here is what we use to control how they're panned, tilted, or zoomed. You can have somebody that's in charge of, okay, we know that this guitarist is going to open this song, so we want to be zoomed in on his guitar. Like, they can be ready for that. We know that this pastor likes to, preach and move around a lot, so we're gonna have to follow him a little bit. It gives you that flexibility to be able to follow, set up shots accordingly. If you have a special music coming up, setting up your shot over there for that, and so on. The downfall of these over here is that you'd have to have somebody manning those, or they can stand alone. So, I mean, you could have one kind of right in on your center that you just know that there's always going to be some action there and you don't have to move it very much. Or you can have somebody sitting on it, moving the camera along with the action.
Ideally, you'd have somebody on them.
Yeah, ideally you do. And we know how easy it is to find volunteers. So, I mean, you could get probably 3 people on that camera if you want. I'm just kidding. That's the hardest part, is like finding people it's like, hey, I can't even get somebody to run sound this weekend. How am I going to get somebody to run a camera? But that becomes part of this investment, is going, okay, we're investing in gear, we're investing in our people and training. And there's just there's a big step that you have to make to be able to improve your quality to this level. So these would have to run through a power through Ethernet switch. I won't dig too much in it. What's that?
On the PTZs, they are, you can move them to different places pretty easily. It takes a little work, but we've got several different ports for them to connect to. So it's not super flexible, but it's not unchangeable.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you want to put in an Ethernet switch that has, again, we call this future proof. So you want to make sure that your switch that you put in has plenty of channels or plenty of ports for room for growth down the road. You know, we've talked about, do we put one in like at the front of the church that shows the congregation? Like, again, you want to be purchasing things if you're going to spend this kind of money that you know you can add in to enhance that experience down the road as the vision for Worship Online grows. So you're running it all through a switch, and you're running into, you know, so we've talked about audio here, how you want to get it in. I did include this interface with this example here. You're going to come off that XLR output again. You're going to run into this interface here where your XLR goes in here, and then it'll come off USB, which is just a nice high quality audio source into your computer. And then again, MacBook down here coming into this computer, which also feeds your Sanctuary screens, but that'll come into your computer. So when it came to the computer, this was a big piece of this. Think of it as just kind of the central brains of this entire operation. You need to have something that's very high quality and high performing. We did a lot of research on this, and we found Stream Dudes was the name. A friend of mine recommended it, and I was like, what? What? Like, seriously, Stream Dudes? But they are killer, and they had really, really good reviews, and I read up on them, talked to one of their owners. We had some great conversations. He's a big church guy. Was walking me through exactly what needed to happen. So anyways, what Stream Dudes do is they custom build computers specifically for live stream applications. So I mean, this is literally what they do is build the best computer, the best machine possible for all this stuff to work well. So they custom built a computer for us. So this is the biggest chunk of one of the biggest chunks of your expenses outside of the cameras is going to be your main computer here. So PC computer with vMix is the program, the software that we recommend at this point, which has the ability to video switch, design the live stream, meaning throwing on titles live, throwing on lower thirds, throwing on all the stuff, record and broadcast live. So, you know, when we were buying this, we were like, oh, we're going to be live in person in no time. Like, we're going to figure out how to live stream this thing. And so we bought this with probably, I would say the highest priority was to be able to live stream. And then shortly after was to record. But we've been recording with it ever since, because that's just what we've been doing. So recording was a big piece eventually, and it has the ability to record each individual camera if you want to. So you could go in later and post mix everything. It has the ability to record just your main output here. It has the ability to record just the audio. It has I mean, it has so many different functions and abilities within vMix that we just highly recommend it. Some customization options are to get this X keys video switching control. You can run everything through the software in vMix if you want to. But I have had pretty good luck. We purchased one of these, and it works pretty well. It gives you a nice, you know, shortcuts when you're in your workflow and in your live stream or your recording session, that you can just hit one or two buttons to make things like happen and switch and fade, instead of kind of click pointing and then transitioning, click pointing. And so just a few less steps to put something like this in. And then we obviously recommend to hardwire everything directly to your router or to wherever your access point is. Have everything hardwired so that way your stream doesn't have any issues with Wi-Fi. And then you can send it to, within vMix, you can set it up to send it to Facebook, to YouTube, to Vimeo, to any kind of platform you want to. It has full customization on destination. Yeah, and I know that's a lot to chew on, but this is kind of just a snapshot of it. And obviously there's other adapters and cables and cords and things that aren't included in this diagram, but this kind of gives you a snapshot of that option. Yeah, Nolan?
We just got a question from Tim again.
Yeah, don't read that one. Hence the wink face. Does vMix take VGA? If you're, well, actually I should talk on this. Not the VGA, but why it does or doesn't, I suppose. If your graphics card has a VGA input, then yeah, it totally can. So part of the customizing of this computer, of it being built for this application, is that you can have SDI coming in directly, which I recommend. You can have HDMI coming in. You can have as many USB ports as you want. So kind of talking through, how do you want to do that? Do you want it over NDI? Do you want it over the network? You can customize all that, and that's what Stream Dudes will help you kind of walk through, is which way you recommend. From my experience, and things are changing for NDI and for network solutions. But from my experience so far, SDI has just been really solid. We use SDI for everything we do. Outside, we have CAT to control our PTZs and our CAT, obviously, to run to the internet. But otherwise, we run everything over SDI here. So we have this model of Canon has SDI directly out, so that way we don't have to worry about coming out HDMI and then getting over to SDI for the run into the computer. But this computer here has 8 SDI inputs that were custom built into it. So we can add up to 8 cameras to the system if we want to, and we have 4 in play right now. But we can have up to 8. So again, kind of that future-proof piece of it. And then SDI also runs these PTZs. They're CAT for control and for power, but they're SDI running to off the back into our computer here. The VGA, if you have a VGA need where you just are like, I just love how this VCR works, I need to get this into my live stream, then you could totally put a VGA port, I think. I don't know. There you go. I've never even looked into that, but I would imagine it's possible.
Yeah, and so I haven't talked too much. We just built out a brand new space, and so I'm learning on the go as well. So it's neat because we're set up to do these things. I just don't necessarily have the language to talk about it. Something that I'm really enjoying is with ours, we do the SDI as well, but we've got a 20x20 Blackmagic video hub, and are the SDI inputs decklink. And so we have the ability to take that, whatever we want from the presentation, like welcoming slides and announcement slides, and we can put them up on the screens and we can put them online. And this isn't quite the online option, but just what we're talking about, but just a little bit more on how we use it. We have TVs along the walls outside, so when people come in, they can see very specific things. If they need to leave with their children or their baby to go into the mother's nursing room, there will be a TV in there that we can send the entire worship to. And now we have it planned out if need be. We've got 2 different worship spaces. One is the traditional sanctuary and one's the worship space where we're doing modern services. We've got the sanctuary set up to be a overflow, and so through the SDI we can play the service that we're doing in the separate space over SDI into that sanctuary for people if there's more than 600 people who come to worship for that specific one. So it's just, I mean, you can send it anywhere. That 20x20, 20 different cameras, computers, to 20 different places, and it's all customizable in there. It's just fascinating.
Right. One question we had are the SDI inputs deck link cards. They're cards that were custom dropped into the computer. So there's like one card of them vertical, and then another. We put the additional card in there for 4 more. So we had 4, and then another 4, and then the computer also has 4 HDMI, and then I don't know, I'd have to look at it now, but it's got a bunch of options, and that was kind of our goal. And it was more expense for that because you had kind of you had like 4 HDMI was like the ground level, then you had 4 SDI and 4 HDMI was the next level, and then we chose to spend a little bit more to make sure we had 8 total SDI ins, so that way we didn't have to worry about any future issues running anymore. Yeah, and I think, back to kind of Switcher and the ATEM mini solutions, this was great for us for a long time. And I think in a lot of churches I've talked to are having great success with this. Like, it does what they need it to do. It gets the job done. It's clean. You just don't have a lot of options with it. It's user friendly. So again, budget versus production value is what it's going to come down to. I think what I'm seeing more now is churches heading this direction, kind of that middle ground area where they don't need to spend 20 grand on it, 25 grand on it. But they do need to spend a good 10 grand on it, maybe 12 grand, depending on what computers they have available. But something kind of more in this price point is going to get you a nice high quality stream, something that your church can grow into, that it'll use for years to come. But again, you're limited because there's the 4 inputs. So you have to pick and choose, what you're going to do there. But